Boker Tov. Today's daf is Daf Mem Tes in Nizir. Today we learn for Elin Neshama of my grandparents, Ephraim Yehuda Ben Pinchas Halevi and Dvorah Bas Rafael Nasan, my grandparents who were killed on this day 81 years ago by the Nazis in Machshma. So today, on yesterday's daf, we learned Rav Akiva's Shita. Rav Akiva said that we learned from Al Nefesh that it talks about by Nizir, when it says Al Kol Nefesh Lo Yavo, that he shouldn't contaminate himself to any dead body. So Nefesh is the Rechokim, the people who are not his relatives. Meis is the relatives. What does La'avav Limo teach me? That's Matami to Meis Mitzvah. That's what La'avav Limo teaches me. And Rabbi Akiva says Imo was mentioned Agav, the father. La'achiv is to teach me if he's a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir. If he was a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir, meaning he's like in a double state of high spirituality, still he's not Matami to them, but still he's Matami to a Meis Mitzvah. Meaning even if he's a Kohen Gadol and Nazir, you're not Matami to them, but he is Matami to Meis Mitzvah. So Lachoso is to teach you the case if he was even going on his way to do a mitzvah that involved Kores, like Korban Pesach and Lamos Beno, that even then he's Matami to a Meis Mitzvah. So now the Gemara asks at the top of Memtes, we learned on Shabbos' daf from Mem Zayin Beis that if it says I'll call Nafshas Meis Le'Yavo, when it says by a Kohen Gadol, why does it say that there? If we're speaking about Chokim, we're talking about people who are relatives. Of course, he can't be Matami to them. A Kohen Hedron is not Matami to them. If we're speaking about Lekrovim, Matami, so Kohen Gadol Shem Matami Lekrovim and a Din Shem Matami Lechokim. A Kohen Gadol, right? If we're speaking about Rechokim, Kavachom Mam Kohen Gadol, Shu Matami Lekrovim and Matami Lechokim. Kohen Gadol certainly not. Ela Bekrovim Akasam Dabra. Kol Nafshas Meis Mikrovim. So why does it say La'avav Limo? That's to teach me that a Kohen Gadol also cannot Matami to Meis Mitzvah. What do I need all of that for? If Rabbi Akiva learns out by a Nazir, not only if he's a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol, that's what Lachav teaches me. Rabbi Akiva, in other words, we have two parshas. One is Kohen Gadol, one is Nazir. We know in general the halachas are pretty much the same. They can't be Matami to any next of kin, even father, mother, wife, etc. Not Matami, except Meis Mitzvah. Fine, we learn about both of them. We can't learn out one from the other, as we learned over the last few days. Why? Because Nazir, you might say, is more higher spiritually. Why? Because he has to bring a carbon if he's tamei. And a Kohen Gadol is higher spiritually because he's a Kohen Gadol. He's a Kohen for life, as a Nazir is only for a fixed period of time. So you can't learn out one from the other. But according to Rabbi Akiva, the pasuk by Nazir that says La'achiv includes a Kohen Gadol. Because he says, why did it say La'achiv for? You know you can't be Matame to non-relatives. You can't be Matame to relatives. You know you could be Matame to Lavalima. It's okay, you can't be Matame to your father and mother. Okay, but a Meis Mitzvah, yes. What about if you're a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir? That's what Lachav is teaching me according to Rabbi Akiva. So according to Rabbi Akiva, Michli Loshna Kohen Gadol Lechude Loshna Kohen Gadol Bu Nazir Nafkim La'achiv. We learn from La'achiv that you could still be Matami to Meis Mitzvah. So La'av Lima Lamli. Why did I have to say La'av Lima then for? We already know you can't be Matami to any of your relatives, right? You can't be Matami to relatives by Kohen Gadol. Why does it say La'av Limo? It says La'av Limo by Nazir. We said, okay, Matami Meis Mitzvah. But according to Rabbi Akiva says that in the case of the Kohen Gadol, a Nazir who's also a Kohen Gadol, he's still Matame to a Meis Mitzvah. So why did it say Lava La'imo by Kohen Gadol? You said on Mem Zayin of the days at the bottom, he said, oh, it says Lava to teach me that he's Matame to a Meis Mitzvah. La'imo is for the Gzeira Shava. Yeah, but if you find by Nazir that the word La'achiv by Nazir is also referring to a Kohen Gadol, so what do I need the pasuk Lava La'ima by Kohen Gadol? Lamali. The Srichi says you need it because if it only say the reason why you're not mitame to your father, again in all these cases you're not mitame to them, right? But what do I need all the psukim for? We know you're not mitame. We know Kohen Gadol is not mitame to anything. Why does it say love? You know the father mitame mishum the chazaka ba'amu. How do you know he's your father? How does one know that a person is his father? It's a chazak, it's presumption. The father lived with his mother, Rov Bilas Hochanachar Abal. We assume it's his father, right? Aval imo diadnulite, but mother, people were there. There was midwives there. There were people there. We know it was the mother. She was pregnant, and this kid came out. We know it's his mother. I might think he could be metamed her. The father, you're not so sure about. Maybe he's not really the father. It's a chazaka. Yes, it's a presumption it's the father, but you're not as sure as he's the father as you are sure that it's the mother. So maybe the father you can't be metamed for because it's only a presumption. But the mother, it's for sure mother. It's his mother who's before a man takes a wife. Who is he closer to than his mother? Right? That's his closest relative before he takes a wife. The guy at work, they filled out a form at work and they said, who's your closest relatives? And he was married. He wrote down his mother, and his wife didn't like that. Before he's married, that's his mother's for sure. Maybe he could be mitami to her. Kamashmula, no, you're not mitami of ula imo. In other words, even though we said already that a kohen gadol and a nazir cannot be mitami, they could be, even if it's a kohen gadol, could be mitami to meis mitzvah. You might say, okay, father maybe not, but the mother, it's his mother for sure. It's his mother because rachmana imo. If you say can't be mitami to your mother, cannot be mitami, have min imo lo latamila delo azul zara basra. Who is the which tribe are you from? Your mother's tribe or your father's tribe? Goes according to the father, right? You go according to your father. If you're a Kohen, a Levi, etc., it goes according to the father. So I might think, hey, mother maybe can't be mitami, but your father, your whole tribe goes within the the children don't go after the mother's side; they go after the father's side. Take the surnames that way too, or you're called that way. I will aviv, keeping the mamar. Pardon?
Wouldn't be a Kohen gadol. Kohen without the father.
Oh, very good. Good question. I will aviv, keeping the mamar. We'll come to that. Since we have a klal that how does your lineage go according to your father? According to the father, the base avosam. When it comes to father, which family are you with? What's your tribe? Where do you go? Are you freedman or are you Levi? What are you? Goes according to the father. Maybe you should be mitamtim kamash malon. Therefore, we have both took avav imo. Avav imo teaches me, even though we know you can't be mitame to relatives, we know that, and so Pukim's to tell you that you could be mitame to a meis mitzvah, but you can't be mitame to relatives. What do I need avav imo for? We've already determined that you're not mitame to anybody except for the meis mitzvah. What do I need an extra pasuk for? And we have, as Rashi points out. Rashi in the from the top of the page, take a look at Rashi. The Hasher Kohen Gadol who knows her mitame l'meis mitzvah. Kolshken Kohen Gadol l'chudei. He's Kohen Gadol by himself. Ula aviv nami deina mitame mashma me'al kol nafshos meis as we had before. So hadakas rachmana la'aviv limo. What do you need it for? In other words, we had before. Al kol nafshos meis la'yava teaches me. We're speaking about the close relatives because the people who aren't your relatives is a kavachomer, a kohen hedyot who is mitame to his 7 next of kin is not mitame to non-relatives. A kohen gadol who is not mitame to his next of kin certainly shouldn't be mitame to faraway relatives. So what does that kol nafshos meitzi? To the ones who are el bekrov mukasim but that's kol nafshos meis. So if I have that, what do I need? The father and the mother. So you might say, even though you're not mitame to your other relatives, your brother, your sister, and people like that, but maybe the father and the mother is different. And why does it say father and mother? If it won't say father's not for sure your father, but your mother's for sure your mother. Or if it only say your mother, you might say, okay, your mother, you're not mitami to. Why? Because your family doesn't go according to her tribe, you go according to your father's tribe. Therefore, you have to tell me both of them. But that's what she says. So here, the unfortunately ask Michael's question. If he's not your father, what's the issue? Let's understand something. What do you say? If the pasuk would just say you can't be mitame to your father, right? You're calling him mitame father. You might say, I can't be mitame your father because really sure it's your father. There's a presumption he's your father, but you're not as sure that he's your father as you are that your mother is your mother. So you might think him you can't be mitame to, but your mother, who's for sure your mother, maybe you could. So the Mepharshim I'll ask what Michael just asked. If he's not your father, so you're not a Kohen either. What's your problem? The whole issue is, like you say, you're not only not a Kohen Gadol, you're not a Kohen either. If he's not your father, how do you know who he is? More than that, maybe you're a mamzer, then for sure not a Kohen. So what's going on? So some say, so they grapple with this. So it could be you're talking about a case where the father and the son had both a chazaka that they were kohanim. So a chazaka like that, b'fnei atzmo, and therefore umasata is also mostly that he's the father. So even if you say he's not the father, but there's still a chazaka that he's a Kohen. In other words, maybe he came from, maybe the mother gave birth to him before she was married to the father. Who knows what it was? But that speaking of, but it's been a case where they're from a city where everybody in this city was all Kohanim. So you know for sure he's a Kohen, but it doesn't take away the mamzer issue. So the Netziv gives an interesting, he says, listen, everybody knows it's his father. The kavanah of the Gemara is not the chashash, a real chashash. Maybe he's not his father. If he's not his father, then who is he, right? If the Kohen, this Kohen Gadol, he says, this Kohen Gadol, you're saying, your father maybe, there we understand you shouldn't be mitamim him because who knows if he's really your father? If he's not really your father, you're not a Kohen Gadol. Right? You're not a Kohen. Who knows what you are? Okay, let's say this a chazak, he's a Kohen. That's not really the chashash. Everybody knows. Nobody was around when their parents made it. To know, but you know who your father is. It's not really a chashash like that. People know this is the father, right? This is your father. That's all the halachas keep it up. Hey, all the person, the mitzvahs that a person has regarding his father, etc. It's his father. Would you say, I don't have to do that? How do I know for sure it's his father? Everybody knows that. Since it's not, you're not as sure that he's your father as you are sure that it's a mother. Maybe the tsar, when the father dies, is not as great as it is with the mother, and therefore, if the tsar is not as great, maybe that's a reason why you shouldn't be mitame to him. The tsar is not as great. In other words, a person wants to attend the funeral of his next of kin, right? It's painful to him. If Rahman said a person misses the funeral of his father or mother, that's very painful. But maybe the father, not as much as the mother, right? That's because that doesn't really mean that you're concerned about that. Anyway, that's what I'm forced to deal with that. So the Gemara goes on now. The last line of the page on the Gemara Namal, the Girsa is again according to Bekiva al kol nafshes meis lo yavo lamali. And Rashi explains the last Rashi on the page, 4 lines from the bottom, and Rashi, and that small Rashi, Rabbi Kiva, the Omer Gabi Nazir. Nefesh Elu, we just had it on the base yesterday. Nefesh, that's what? Nefesh means Rechokim, the people who are not your relatives. Meis Elu Krovim. Okay, so what is Al Kol Nafshes Meis Chsiv Gabi Kohen Gadol Lomali? What do you need all that for? In other words, we explained on Mem Zayin on the base at the end of Shabbos' Daf. Said, what do we speak about? From Kohen Hedjot, we know you can't from time to them. El might speak about, but what is it? If Rabbi Kiva learns out by Nazir, where it says, what it says by Nazir, al nefesh meis lo yavo, and he darshans nefesh is one thing, rechokim, meis is another thing, right? Meis is a separate thing. That's what that's how he learns out, and then he darshans lavel imo for meis mitzvah. So according to Rabbi Kiva, what does he need all? What does he do? Al kol nafshos meis lo yavo that it says by Kohen Gadol. What do you need all that for? You said it's for Krovim. Okay, that's for Krovim. And Aviv is to teach me not your father, but you could meis mitzvah for the deduction that you could go to meis mitzvah. So here again, Rabbi Kiva Dam Gabi Nazir Rashi says nefesh el rechokim meis el Krovim hayal kol nafshos meis l'chsiv Gabi Kohen Gadol amali. What do you need it for? You need it all. Why? It says I'll call. What do you need it for? I'll call lapuki rechokim. You're right. I'll call, just like you said. We said nefesh according to Rabbi Kiva that it says by Nazir, that's rechokim. So here also I'll call is lapuki rechokim. Just like I call non-relatives, you can't give them time for. By Kohen Gadol, we're talking about kol nafshos meis bol yavo. That's supposed to be by Kohen Gadol. I'll call lapuki rechokim. Meis lapuki krovim. If meis, that's relatives. In other words, he can't. Kohen Gadol cannot be time both to non-relatives and to relatives. Nefashos. What is nefashos? It says I'll call nefashos. What is he looking for? For a famous Rosh is a machlokas. We have it all throughout Shas. To Rabbi Kiva and other Tanoim. We have a klal that a revius of dam is matamayu. If you go into an OL, if you're in a room with a dead body, right? You're a tummy, right? You're a tummy for 7 days. That's a standard rule. What happens if it wasn't a whole body? It was a sikazayas. You're also tummy. What happens if it's a revius dam? A revius dam, just a small cup of dam of a mace. Also, you're tummy. Whether you're in the same room, whether you overshadowed the the dam or the dam overshadowed you, OL, Tame, right? Tame. However, there's famous machlokes from Rabbi Akiva and others, and this is Rabbi Akiva says in the Nefashos, Rabbi Akiva learns out that the revius of dam does not have to come from one corpse. It can come from several, because it says Nefashos. So that's what he says, Nefashos. You see, Michael, it's plural. We know a little bit of diktik, right? I'll call la puke rechokim basically Nefashos la puke revius dam sheyatsa mishnei mason. Means two or more. That means it doesn't have to be from one. Shematami ba'ol shenemer. I'll call nafshos meis lavio. Even if it's the souls of several, you shouldn't attend. So therefore, even if the revius dam was made up, a cup of blood was made up from more than one corpse, according to Rabbi Akiva, that's also matami ba'ol. Now this leads us into the next Mishnah.
Is it different for a Nazir then?
Okay, yes. Now that this leads us into the next Mishnah, because we're going to see now, not just from this Mishnah, but more from the following Mishnah that we'll have in a couple of days, that we're going to see that the rules for Nazir are different. In what sense? Yes, we said that a Nazir we've had before, right? B'mosam, right? What does the pasuk say? Pasuk says the Tamei b'hem b'mosam when it comes to Nazir, and we learn now going gadol from him. In other words, a Nazir is only prohibited from becoming Tamei mace if, for his relatives or anybody else, he can't attend the funeral of a person who died. But let's say his father was was a Metzora, or he had some other sort of a Zava or something like that he could be Matami for. Fine. So, but when it comes to mace was mace, right? You think it all, we just said that a revius of dam is matami. Everybody agrees if it's revius of dam from one mace and you are in the room with them, you're tummy for 7 days. Except the Nazir has an additional rule when he becomes tummy. What's his additional rule? He also has to get a haircut at the end of the 7 days and bring karbanos, the 2 birds and the asham. So a Nazir is more stringent than that's what we said, more than a Kohen Gadol. A Kohen Gadol or a Kohen or anybody becomes tamei, has to just keep the 7 days of purification, sprinkling on the 3rd and 7th day, and from mechatos, and going to the mikvah on the 7th day. But the Nazir has the additional requirement. On the 8th day, he has to shave his hair again, just like he does at the end of a regular Naziris period. But here it's the Naziris of Tuma, and bring the karbanos. However, The
revius has to be gathered in one place.
Gathered in one place. Yeah, it's not a revius. It's someone right. If it's spilled on the floor. No, it has to be revius. It has to be that's not called a revius. It's got to be together. Okay, so. But now we're going to see. Yeah.
I was actually thinking something else.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, you have by Kohen Gadol, it's not shot, and for Nazir, it's nefesh, isn't it? Husband. Correct.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that. So in the Hanami, okay, but the point is that that's what we're going to get into now. That anybody becomes tamei. The Nazir is a human being like anybody else. He becomes tamei with, according to Rabbi Akiva, let's say nefashos. He's tamei, but there's a tumah that he has. We said, and he has a stringency. He has to bring the karbanos at the end. However, not all tumas, we had mentioned this before, not all tumas are such that requires him to start all over again. In other words, he's tummy, yes, he's tummy just like anybody else who touched a body. And we're going to see that in a minute. We're going to see this in the next Mishnah. And the next Mishnah is going to say that on al-elu tumas anazir megaleach, on the following tumas, and they're all related to a tumas mess, he shaves, and he shaves meaning a megalech, and he brings his karbanos, etc. And he has to start counting all over again, right? Like we discussed. But there are some tumas that he's tamei, but he doesn't have to start counting all over again, and it doesn't knock off the whole thing. He just means that okay, he has a period in between that he's tamei, and then he picks it up afterwards. He continues on afterwards. But he doesn't have to start all over again, and he doesn't have to shave. So what are they? And here we're going to see a difference. All these people, all these cases, anybody becomes tamei this way. But on these tumas specifically, he has to start all over again. Alames, because if he was exposed to a dead body, al kazayis manes, even a kazayis menames. The Gemara is going to say, if you say kazayis menames, what do you say mess for, right? Okay, we'll think about that. Al kazayis not so, or a kazayis of that's like coagulated or congealed corpse mold. You know that the body had decomposed and now it's like gelled up again. or a mali tavrid rekev, or a spoon, a ladle full of corpse dust, really just dust in a dry form. All these are matamayu, like the dead body itself. A shedra, a spinal gogos, a skull, a lever, a mess, a whole limb of a mess. A limb means with all the parts including the basra. A lever menachai. Even Aver Menachai is matame, sheish lebasik roy. If it has enough flesh on it, what do we mean enough flesh on it? Enough flesh that it'll regenerate itself. In other words, there's times when if all that's left, the person was in an accident or a fire or something, and it can't even regenerate itself. It's got to have enough there that if he was sick or accident or something happened to it, it can regenerate itself. In those cases, it's all matamiu. A half a kav, a half a measure of bones. Log dam. This is an important one. A half a log of dam. What's a half a log? That's 2 reviuses. A revius is a revius a log. A half a log is 2 reviuses. But wait a minute, didn't we just say that revius dam is matame oyin is revius? Yes, a revius dam is matamayu, but not that you have to start counting all over again. He's not magleach on that. That's what we'll talk about in the next Mishnah. Chatzi log dam. If they had that much dam, yeah, I guess so. And on all these, whether you touched them on some, whether you carried them out, or whether you overshadowed them, or they were overshadowed you, or you were in the same under the same shadow. In other words, on all these, it's a tamei ba'oel, like a regular, going into a funeral. You go into a funeral, you're in the same chapel with the dead body, you're tamei. Val etzem kasora, a bone of a dead body the size of a barley bean is not matamiyu ba'oel, but al magov maso it is matamiyu whether touching and carrying it. So in all these, if a Nazir touched even a etzem kasora, or he was under the same roof or touched or carried any of these parts of the bodies that we just mentioned, on all these he's got to keep the 7 days, shave, bring his karbanos, etc. Al elu on these, the Gemara, the Mishnah tells, Hanazir megaleach, he shaves, and he gets sprinkled on the 3rd and 7th days that we've discussed. The Sosras Akoman knocks off all the previous days. Remember, not like a haircut. If somebody forcibly cut off his hair, right, does he have to start counting? Let's say he was a Nazir for 100 days, and in the middle, somebody cut off his hair. So as long as there's 30 days remaining in the Naziris, he doesn't have to, it doesn't affect his count at all, because he just needs 30 days of growth. But if he became Tomei Mace, if he touched a dead body or came in contact with a dead body in any of these cases, he's got to go through the purification process and start all over again. And he doesn't start counting again, the new counting, maybe it's kabarasa. When does he start counting his 30 days or 100 days, whatever the period was? Only after he's matar himself. This is all in this Mishnah. In the next Mishnah, we'll talk about cases where he's Tameh and he got to keep Tameh 7 days like anybody else, any other Jew who became exposed to a dead body, but he doesn't have to go through the whole purification. He has to go through the purification process, but he doesn't have to shave and bring his karbanos. We'll see about that in the next Mishnah. Tana Rabbana. After Rav Meir died, Amalan Rabbi Yehuda. The Jewish people are argumentative people. That's our nature. So everybody protests and we fight and argue over shtuyot. But that's our nature, right? We're argumentative. One guy says do this, one guy says do that.
Learning Gemara.
That's how we learn. Exactly right. So after Rav Meir died, Rav Yehuda told the students, "I consult to meet Rav Meir Lakan." Rav Meir died. Now all his yeshiva guys are going to want to come and learn with us. Don't let them in. I don't want those guys. I don't want us to meet them. They should come to me. They're argumentative. They are disputatious. But they're not coming to learn Torah from me. They're coming to beat me in laws. Coming to overwhelm me with all their arguments and stuff like that. They're not serious. They're not really coming to learn. They're coming to make trouble, as we would say, right? What do the guys say? There's 3 kinds of people who come to a shiur. Some come to Heron to listen. They're not all there, but they're really coming. They listen a little bit. The Heron come. Some come to their Heron to really understand, and some come to far Heron, right? Some come to make trouble, right? To test the rabbi. So they're coming to far here. I don't want to hear them, right? So Simchus was a famous Talmud of Meir, right? Simchus was a famous. So he pushed his way in. He pushed his way into the yeshiva, and he went to learn. Amar Lam. And he said, Kach Shanali Rav Meir. This is what Rav Meir taught me this Mishnah. Aleilu Tumas Nazir Megaleach. On the following Tumas, a Nazir has to shave, meaning bring his karbanos. Alameis. He started quoting our Mishnah. Alameis, Falkazais, Manameis. On a dead body and on a kazais of a dead body. Kosher Meir, Kosher Rebuta, the Rav Shapiro heard him say that. Right away, he got angry. I told you not to let him in. Didn't I tell you Rav Meir? Didn't I tell you not to let him in? What is he driving me crazy here with this thing? Take a look at Rashi. Last line on Rashi. Mishnah. He says this can't be a Mishnah. What are you really serious? Rav Meir said that? How does that make sense? On the following things, it's telling me on a dead body or the kazayis of a dead body. Come on. If a kazayis of a dead body is mitamiyu, certainly a whole body. So that couldn't have been. He couldn't have said that, right? So he got angry because I told you they're just making trouble. They should name because they are argumentative. If he has to shave, meaning go through the whole process of bringing karbanos, certainly on a mace. So how could Rav Meir have said on a mace and a kazayis on a mace? Come on. If on a kazayis mace, you're tamei, certainly on a whole mace. So it doesn't make sense what he's saying. Rav Yossi. Rav Yossi woke up and he said, listen, Yomru, what are they going to say? Meir Shachar. Rav Meir died. Right? What's going to happen now? Look, I'm trying to make peace, right? Rav Meir died. Yehuda caused. Yehuda's angry, right? He's angry that the guy came in. Everybody's upset. Yossi Shasak. He's talking about himself, and I'm not going to say anything. Torah Matayala. What's going to be with the Torah? This is how they're going to stand the Torah. Rav Meir's gone. Rav Yehuda doesn't want to hear anything that Rav Meir said, or he doesn't want to hear his Talmidim. And if I'm quiet, what's going to happen? They're just going to let this dispute simmer, so to speak. Rav Yossi, I'll explain it. Okay. Well, he said a kazayis basar is matame. And they said, what? So if a kazayis basar matame is certainly a whole dead body. We're speaking about a whole dead body didn't have a kazayis basar. The body had, decomposed away, right? There was nothing left except it was less than a kazayis basar. That's what we mean. That a whole body, even if it doesn't have a kazayis basar, if you have a kazayis basar, that's matame. And there's another halacha that a whole body that doesn't have a kazayis basar, you have a whole body, but there's no flesh left. It's all decomposed. It's all decomposed. Oh, so the bones are there. The bones are there. So he's telling you it's a whole body. It's a whole body. The bones are there. But even though there's no basar there, there's no flesh left, there's no kazayis, it's also matami. So he's telling people some you wouldn't know one from the other. Can't say if a kazayis is matami, certainly a whole body. No. The kazayis is a kazayis. The whole body is without a kazayis. We're talking about two separate things. But that still doesn't answer everything. But dying yoma, they'll still say, fine. Okay, I'll aver mimenu megaleach, I'll kula lo koshkein. Again, forget about the kazayis business. But you say an aver of a dead body, a limb of a dead body is enough. If an aver is matame, certainly a whole body, even if there's no kazayis basar there. Rashi says ba'afal pi kazayis basar. But dying yomer I'll aver megaleach on the top of the page. You don't need a kazayis. Okay, we said an aver is matame. Even if there's no kazayis, as long as there's a little bit of flesh there that it can regenerate. But again, so what did you say? The mace is speaking about there's no kazayis basar. But again, I don't need a coat. You said the whole body's there, all the bones are there. It's matame. Even an aver, even one limb alone that doesn't have a kazayis basar. You said aver and a says it doesn't have a kazayis basar, right? Just enough to regenerate, but there's no kazayis there. So if I'm an aver, you're matame, certainly the whole body. And we're not talking about there's no kazayis basar. Vadayin yomar al aver menem galech al kulo koshkin, certainly on a whole body, even if there's no basar there. You said even one limb that doesn't have a kazayis basar is matame. Certainly a whole body should be matame. Elokar Rabbi Yochanan lo nitzcha el lenefel. We're speaking about a nefel, an abortion that is a very tiny body. So Niskashu Evara begin that the body hasn't even been all connected. All the tendons and the muscles are not yet really haven't been completed, haven't been formed. So El Nefel Shlo Niskashu Evara begin. That he talks about that case elsewhere in Chulin. That we're speaking about here. Yes, a limb alone, as long as it has some basar enough to regenerate, is matame. So what about a whole body? A whole body, we're speaking about a whole body of a little tiny abortion baby that its limbs aren't even connected. That's his point, that it's so tiny that you might think that there's nothing even there. It's not even matame, kamashmo, that's matame too. Not only a limb of a proper dead body, but even a whole body of an abortion, that's also matame. Very simple. We're speaking about most of the structure of the body, or most of the bones of the body, even if the structure is not there, but it's got, there's hundreds of bones in the body. Even if you got a lot of the tiny bones, most of the bones are there because the hands are there, the feet are there. There's a lot of bones in the feet and the hands. Even if most of the bones are there without most of the structure, but there's no rov atzamus. So what do we say? You need a chatzi kav atzamus to mitamiu. Let's say there's not even a rov atzamus. It's not even a quarter of a kav of bones, but that's still most of the bones are there. But it's so tiny, they're very tiny and very, very small. Even if most of the structure of the body's there, but there's so little there that it doesn't come to much of a measure, or most of the bones are there, but it doesn't come to much of a measure, that's also matami. In other words, when he says ala mace on a dead body, either we're speaking about abortion very small that's not really completely formed, is there anything less there even than a limb? We said if a limb is matameyu, certainly a whole body, but here we're talking about a very tiny, small body that hasn't been completely formed, or it's the bones. Most of the structure of the body is there, or most of the bones are there, but they're still so small, and not only not in quantity, but in volume, that it's hardly there's not enough bones there to speak of. In other words, based on the amount we said you need a chatzi kav of atzamas you don't even have that. You don't even have a rova atzamas, but you do have a rova of atzamas, but you still have most of the bones of the body. I don't know how many bones are there in the body, 200, 300. If most of the bones are there, even though they're so tiny, that's considered that's the mace that we're speaking about, and that's what the Mishnah means. So that's how Rav Yossi solved the issue and tried to make peace. That Rav Meir's Talmidim Sumchus was not trying to make trouble when he said that. He was serious. He said a kazayis min a mace, or all these other measures. You have the skull or the spine of a mace, or aver min a mace, or a whole mace, but a very, very tiny one, like an abortion, or like where it's so small that that you don't even have a measure of bones, but you have most of the bones of the body, or most of the structure of the bodies, and that's what the Mishnah is speaking about. So in all these cases, the mace, he has to count the 7 days, etc., and bring the kabbalas and shave. And we'll continue with this discussion, but the next Mishnah is going to talk about cases where you have to, you're tameh, but you don't go through the shaving, etc. That those kind of tumas, that other kinds of tumas, like a revius of dam is matamayu, and you have to go through the process, but it doesn't knock off the days, and you could start counting right away. You don't bring any kabbalas. We'll see that later in the next few days. All right, have a good day, everybody. Call to.